In the last weeks, in this picture, one of the most widespread pictures in the Hungarian internet, even in the public internet too. This is a satellite image of the Carpathian Basin at the end of this very hot and dry summer. You see the really dry Hungarian plain and the lesser plain, and the relative more green months. But there are some anomalies in this picture, in the satellite image. I will show it. This one, for example, in the middle of the desert, there are some green patches. What kind of green patches? If you zoom it, these are the forests of the Kiskun sand ridge in a very dry and hot region of the Carpathian Basin. Questions are coming. What causes this regional outstanding forest cover? Can this forest cover be sustained in today's climate conditions? And is it worth to maintain this forest cover? And this is the thinking, what is the beginning of my presentation. Some historical background. This is the same region in the end of the 18th century, in the first military mapping, and the green patches are the forests, digitalized based on the military maps. So the forest cover were this level. These are all original forests, no planted, no evidences from the Middle Age or earlier of clear cutting of forests, and no evidences from the earlier period from systematic forest planting. So I think this is somehow the original forest cover of the region. What is interesting in this southeastern corner marked with the red line, there are not any woody vegetation found. So there is originally more or less treeless region in the Carpathian Basin. And this is the situation of today. This is not the forest cover. These are just the semi-natural forest remains of the region. If you look at the if you zoom to the northern part of the region, you will see the original green patches, the relation of the original green patches and the today semi-natural forest. You see that mainly they are the same places, and you see significant area loss and fragmentation. We lost it is remained just about 6% of the original semi-natural forest, and some forests were completely cut, and others, like this Pustovac forest, is shown how it's fragmented and lost the area. We have evidences and published evidences that the forest vegetation keeps its individual flora. There are about 103 species, vascular plant species, who living just in original and continuous oak forests. The method of the reforestation, the so-called complete soil preparation, destroys this flora forever. It's coming never back. You'll see the different plantation types. They are mainly empty for the forest specialists. We made, about 20 years ago, Hungary scale floristic mapping. I worked in the Kiskunság region, in this sand region. This is the typical floristic composition of a mapping quadrat of 6 by 5 kilometer. About 200 generalist weed, alien species, about 150 dry grassland species where dry grasslands are present, about 150 wetland species where wetlands are also present, and about 100 forest and forest edge specialists where forests are, semi-natural forests are present. So the complete mosaic harbors about 600 vascular species. There is and they are different quadrats. There were which this different composition had less and less reaching point of view of plant biodiversity. So let me see to understand the history, let me see the soil maps of the region. The soil preserves very good memory of the earlier vegetation of 1,000 years. So there could be used as evidence to earlier periods vegetation. What we see, just in the northwestern corner are some reddish-like patches, which are the forest soils. These are transitional forest soils, similar to the Raman, but it is developed in sand. It's a reddish-brownish soil type. And this one, not this one, the city, and this one is Budapest, with similar color. They are meadow and alkaline soils, marked with blue, green, and purple. This is a not real picture for today. We lost every year several hectares of these wetland soils, and it is changing to the yellowish and brownish different scents soils. And in this southern and eastern corners, where the loss substrate is present, they are chernozyoms. They are evidences of the never forest-covered areas in the last thousands of years in the Holocene. It's a picture about the cleared picture about the forest soils. These forest soils, very good coincidence with the presence of the forest specialist plants. Together, they mark the earlier and continuous borders of the closed forests on the Hungarian plain. The rest of the forests are every time connected to soil water or the rivers, so wetland forests are the rest of the forest in the Hungarian plain. This is a distribution map of a typical forest specialist, Central European forest specialist plant, Latirus niger. Let me go back to this region, in this a little bit blurred satellite photo. Here is the border of the Kiskun sand ridge and the border of the sandy soils, the chernozyoms, and the three lines show how the wetland soils of the former Danube beds who crossed earlier the Kiskunság and reached the Theiss River much more northern, like today, near Novi Sad. So these remnants of the rivers are these wetland soils. And this red line shows the region where the oak forests are missing. Here is an early picture of the pre-human water hydrography of the region. This is a so-called paddle map. This is exaggerates the water influence to show how the water management were working very well in the past centuries to make water-free areas in the Hungarian plain. But we see that this is a really water-rich region. Based in the early 19th century, began the afforestation of this region to stop the quicksand and to produce timber for the growing population. The early plantations worked very well because the water-rich environment, but at the same time began the drainage of the surface, the drainage of the region. In very short time, the non-stable waters, so these these inland waters, temporary inland waters drained away, and continuously several small lakes were filled and changed to arable lands. As the region dried up, the forestation and the spontaneous rejuvenation of the forest changed harder and harder. And because these alien trees were introduced, mainly Robinia, Pseudacacia lacustre, and Pinus, pine species. The effective evapotranspiration transpiration of this newly planted forests strengthened the drying of the region. So it was a positive feedback. How much more forest and much drier region, and much more difficult spontaneous rejuvenation of the semi-natural forests. Tölgyesi and fellow workers quantified this problem. They measured the water system of this forest, the soil of this forest, and they denied that what the forest says, that the good forest reserve efficiency of the forest, of the not the forest soils, but the soils of the forests is very good for the whole landscape. They proved that in the sandy soils, the soils below the forests are drier in the summer period, like the soils below the grasslands. So these forest plantations dry the landscape and put lower and lower the soil water table. What is paradox? These are the sand areas in the Hungarian plain, and then these areas are the most forested areas. The shady, how dark are the patches show how forested the regions are. So there are two regions which are not really good for forest plantation, and these regions are the most forested. Here is a smaller landscape where the pilot area of our planes of dreams. This near Monor Schaefers is in this northern corner, what I have shown earlier. What happened here? You see wetlands, inland wetlands, in two lines, in two earlier Danube beds. Native forests, green grasslands, and these white agricultural areas. This is the early 19th century, the second military mapping time. At first, in two large canal system built to drain the soil waters and the surface waters to the Danube. These canals reach the Danube, and today too, with machines, the water is with machines. What is the God? Having out the dam to have to go to the Danube from this drying landscape. And as a result, these two valleys dried completely and agricultural lands created. Secondary, some forests were cut completely, earlier natural forests, but the earlier grasslands, these green areas, were forested. First time with native plantations, but later, from the 20th century, mainly with aliens. And finally, in the end of the 20th century, two highways created here, two first-class highways. These highways cut the cross-direction water connections in the soil, so cut for three part the water system. This is the result. One habitat map of one part of this region. It is full with the pink and the purple alien plantations. It's interesting, the purple matrix, this is the pine matrix, is extremely threatened by wildfires. Many kilometer long fires can run through these pine plantations without any chance to stopping them. Every summer we have several similar fires in the region. The smaller native plantations with blue and very small islands of the original forest steppe, vegetation closed forests or open forest steppe are included. Not just the fire is dangerous, but in this landscape, the timber production is lowering year by year. Most of the forests are not worth to cut. Pro and contra, here I collected several arguments why we like the semi-natural forest steppe vegetations and why what kind of problems there are with them. Drying prevents the natural regeneration of the forest, and they are vulnerable for invasion. These are the problems. I think the pro arguments they are more or less trivial. And the tree plantations, they have really economical values sometimes, but these values today are lowering and lost several times, and very much hindrances, and not just in local, but they are, for example, the resources of the invasion for the whole landscape. And then our projecting what should we do here? At first, the water management. We should stop the draining and channel the blocked groundwater through the highways. We could and should store the periodical precipitation surplus in the earlier lake beds. And a good resource of water would be the purified wastewater from the surrounding settlements. This is only resource what is present here if you don't want to use the drinking water here. So this final cleaning of this water should be made by poplar plantations, and the primary targets of the water replacement were the remaining natural forest stands. This would help to survive for these stands. And their soil, as a sponge, could keep for a long time this extra water. And based on this water addition, we could make a landscape rehabilitation. First time modeling the potential vegetation of the landscape, showing where is the potential wetland areas and where are the areas where the forests are unsustainable. And I think at least 20 or 30% of the forest cover should be changed to forest steppe or grasslands, and 1/10 of the landscape should be changed back to wetlands. So make this 3 or 4 component mosaic, which is the most biodiversity rich situation in the landscape. And the regeneration of the forest needs help. We should connect the fragmented small islands with native plantations and help the regeneration of the forest species plant with propagules collected in the natural stands. And it needs a significant suppression of the invasive trees. This is the last one, what we expect to get from this. We hope a long-term sustainable landscape use, a sustainable forest management too with improved timber yield, where the forest could survive, effective and long-term carbon sequestration. The soils of these forest soils containing much more carbons, organic carbon, like the quicksand or other sands. So when we are making this soil preparation, all of the carbon from these forest soils goes to the atmosphere in very short time. When we dry out the wetlands, all of the carbon from the wetlands soils are going to the atmosphere. I don't have the concrete numbers, but I think the level what we let it to the atmosphere with this method is the same scale as the industry or the traffic makes in the Carpathian Basin. And this preserved complex could preserve these relative good biodiversity dates in the landscape. And for other using, for example, hunting is, this landscape very suitable.